Okay, so this tutorial is going to go through the flow command, which can be really advantageous for you guys if you, as you're modeling some complex geometries. Right? Say we want, for example, Amanda's wanting to do a blade of grass or something of that nature that has a really complex pathway, but it's really a very simple geometry. So the first thing we're going to need to know about this is the length of this curve. Type length, and it's 75 feet now, so obviously we're not operating at a scale. 0.025. So we'll draw this line 75.025, or sorry, 205. Alright, and so we'll go through that. And so that is essentially the length of that curve unraveled here. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a blade of grass quickly here. I just replicated that curve, and I'm going to rebuild it as a 3-degree curve with 3 control points. Hit OK. Oops. Alright, and so I'm going to take these guys and I'm just going to pull them off. And I'm going to pull this out. So it's a pretty wide blade of grass there. Especially since it's 75 feet long. But we'll go ahead and I'm just going to pull this back, hit escape. I'm going to mirror this, and then I'm going to go ahead and create an ellipse. And so then we have this guy, and I'm just going to go ahead split this with these guys, and I'm going to end up rebuilding this so I can go ahead and do this. And I need a point for this. Alright, so now we're going to use the double rail sweep, and so we're going to select our first rail, and then we'll select our second rail, and we'll select our cross section, and we'll use the point as the tip. So we hit enter. And so if we shade that, we have half of our blade of grass, and then we mirror that. And join it, and we're going to go ahead and cap it. If I can type. Okay, so now we have a blade of grass that's essentially flat, and we want it to flow along this geometry. So now we can go ahead and I'm just going to set this to ghosted so we can see everything in here. And so when you guys are using the flow command, you have an initial spine curve that is relative to your geometry. So this needs to be oriented and located in a place that's specific to the geometry. And you note that this is now running along the core of this blade of grass. So what that means is when we flow along the target curve, that it will actually represent that consistently. Also, you need to know that these two things really need to be at the same length to get predictable results out of this. So that's why the start spine is the same length as the back spine, so we can create a relationship there as well. So now when we go and type flow, select the objects, right, and select the base curve. Now note that it's asking you near the end or the start. So we select that guy and the target also near the start. And now it's going to rebuild that geometry along that edge. So now I've created, instead of a blade of grass, sort of a weird whip-like tongue. But again, so now that's a really simple way of creating a complex form. And particularly if you wanted to do something like 3D print this, if we select closed polysurface, just like we really simply modeled this closed polysurface, this is still also closed. So we can mesh this and take it to a 3D printer very easily. So that's how you guys can create some really complex geometries without too much trouble. Alright, so that's the flow command.